Hey guys, Barry Melody back for another episode of the Comeback Game podcast. Today I've got Clint X Morgan from the Freedom Fest Proprietary Limited. Clint started the Freedom Fest about 18 months ago with 33 people. It's grown to over 900 people in 18 months, which has helped not only himself, but hundreds of people around the world to experience financial freedom, time, location, freedom as well. Clint, mate, it's been a little while since we caught up. How you doing?
I'm awesome, Barry. It has been a while, and good to hear your voice again.
Yeah. So, mate, for the people out there watching and listening today, we actually met some like 2.5, 3, maybe 4 years ago now at a mutual friend's house over a game called Wish. And for those of you that don't know what it is, I can barely remember what it was, but essentially it was a game that would help to elicit the blockages or the perceived blockages in one's life, preventing them from having what they want. And the interesting thing is that during playing this game, it's no Ouija board or anything else like that. You don't sit down and pray to the Dalai Lama. It very much so just brings out where the holdings are. And obviously we met back then. We had a bunch of conversations from then to now, and a lot's changed. Before we jump into that though, just for the guys out there, would you like to share a bit more about who you are and what specifically it is you do now?
Yeah, so it's funny the Wish game, and because I that was a big turn when you asked me about this podcast, and I was like, that was the last time we saw each other in person. That was a big turning point in my life, like that. Yeah. Playing that game, I was like, at the time I was at home with my mum. I wasn't really doing much in life. I just started with a new business, but playing that game was like a catalyst that like helped me to manifest my apartment by myself and the money to get out there and get the bond together. So it was a big turning point in my life. So thanks for playing a part in that, bro.
Oh, mate, you're totally welcome.
So me, Clint X Morgan. So I grew up in Sydney, Australia. I became an entrepreneur. I was in the 9-to-5 type lifestyle. And about 10 years ago, I became a personal trainer and did that for several years. Enjoyed what I was doing in that position, helping people to change their life and transform. And it was really rewarding for me to see them come in there, just want to lose weight, but all of a sudden they're happier, they have a better relationship, they're making more money. So I realized I had this like passion for helping people. But what I didn't like about that position as a personal trainer is that I was restricted to one location. I was like, wait a second, I want to be traveling the world. I want to have different adventures and go overseas, and that's why I got started in business. But I'm driving to the gym at 5:30 in the morning. I'm still there at 9:30 at night. I was like, this isn't the lifestyle that I wanted. So I was searching for something different. I realized the power of making money online. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And it wasn't as easy as just doing this. There was a lot of challenges that came in the way and within that journey. But about 18 months ago, I guess I went all in. Before that, I was trying different things and nothing seemed to stick. And then about 18 months ago, my wife and I partnered with a platform who educate people on how to, create an income online, how to build a personal brand, and leverage a platform and certain products that can really accelerate the process, receiving high ticket commissions from a really powerful product that helps people on different levels. And about 18 months ago, we went all in on that business. And now my life, I'm living that dream that I wanted 10 years ago, which is, last year, I just recently had a son. He's now just 17 months yesterday. And he's only 17 months old, but he's already been in 11 different countries. So people will say we're crazy. They're like, what the hell are you doing traveling with a small child? And it's like, I don't know. As soon as we had him, I was like, our business also took off at the same time. We're like, we finally have freedom. So why not take our son and go and experience different cultures? So we spent the last over 12 months now just sort of traveling and I guess experiencing time and financial freedom and location freedom. And now we've been able to give that back and help, hundreds of other people within our community to experience that on different levels. life's really blessed, you could say.
Dude, you guys are a bit crazy, but that's what makes you you. I just got to Melbourne from 2 weeks drive from Perth in the car with my kids for school holidays, and it was very rewarding but very challenging at the same time. As
Yeah.
any of you parents out there listening would know. But to dive into, like, we spoke about, a lot's changed. Like, obviously when I met you, I remember from the conversations we had, finances were tough. You're putting a lot of hours in. You had the hustle, like you had the grind and the drive. You just weren't necessarily seeing the results for that effort. And I remember even after that game, I remember very distinctly a phone call that I had with you. You reached out to me. I was at the gym and I spoke to you. I don't know if you remember the call, and I spoke to you at the gym, and you had this vision of going and doing some sort of a group coaching type of a situation, transformation thing. We talked it through. And that was the last time that I spoke to you. And it was a couple of months later, I seen that things just started to blow up online, and you went from running this event with 33 people to 18 months later having over 900 people in an event, which is massive, mate, absolutely massive. And I suppose for the people out there listening, and the premise behind the Comeback Game podcast is that a lot of people see or perceive success. They see people doing this shit on social media, and some people are actually doing it on social media. Some people aren't. I read an article in the newspaper the other day, which I never read the newspaper, but I took my kids for breakfast and I thought, hey, let's just have a look what's in here. And there was a statistic there that said something like 24% of people lie about their vacation, right? And post fake photos, online around where they are on vacation. Now, this was just mind blowing for me. And unfortunately, that is the world we live in today. Is there's a lot of people out there that are publishing the so-called success and what they're able to help people do. And to be honest, most of them aren't doing it. Most of them are making their money off of other people believing they can make money. And you guys are I've known you for a long time. You're of high integrity. You guys are guys out there actually doing the do. And what I want to know is what it's taken for you guys to get there. Because it's not a matter of like 18 months ago, like the light switch just ticked on and the money just started pouring out of the ATM and you started getting given plane tickets to travel around the world. Like, you guys have put in the work to create what came through for you. So if we wind back, like where were things at for you a few years ago? Like, what was the experience you're having of life back then?
Yeah, well, when I was a personal trainer, I could have moments of success, and I'd have like like I'd fill my calendar up and have a bunch of clients, and I could do that. I'd hustle, I'd get them in, I'd make a bunch of clients, and I'd even make a bunch of money. But before I knew it, and I remember even like, say like the money, like I remember I used to like use like Easy Debit or something like that, and I'd take the money from the clients, and then they'd pay me like once a fortnight or once a week or what. I can't remember exactly when it was, what the frequency was. But when that money hit my bank account, I was so scared. I was actually in more fear the day that I got paid, right, than the day before I got paid, right? Because I was like, holy shit, I got this money. I was like, but it's going to run out. I was like, it's going to go,
Wow.
And so what I realized is I had so much belief, like negative belief systems around money. And I think that, like, when you say about it didn't just happen overnight, for several years, I became aware of that. And I probably became aware of that about not long after meeting you. Like, I'd been in business for a while, but I just wasn't really conscious of it, but I became aware of it. And I started to realize different situations that I had that where my money story and my money mindset was so out. Like, going to the supermarket, I'd all of a sudden get all this anxiety. I was like, oh my God, like, I've got to spend money, and how am I going to afford this? Like, even if I had money in my account, it would still bring up so much anxiety, right? And I started to realize, like, and if I trace it back to my, I started to, do learnings of like, okay, what happens in your childhood, you start to bring it into your adult life. And I realized, like, growing up, my mum, she used to take us shopping, but going to the supermarket was always such a stressful thing, because like she was a single parent, we're always like, on rations, and, she was on a really tight budget. So it would have been really stressful for her. So I obviously picked that up. So I started to notice all these different parts of my life where I was really like living in scarcity and lack. And so I started to shift that. And it was more so, I spent years like working on the energetic stuff, you know, like still taking action in my business, still showing up, not going, oh, I'm going to put that on hold because I'm working on my money stuff. It's like, no, I was still trying to build a business. I was still putting effort in. I was still taking the action. I was still, you know, doing sales calls and whatever I had to do to build my business. But there was so much time invested in healing that money story, and really like doing my best to operate from a space of abundance, regardless of what I had in my physical reality. Like trying to be abundant when you don't have, when you go pull over to put fuel in the car and you've only got $5 in your account, you know. It's like, oh, you know, still trying to remain abundant and trying to remain positive about it, but going, man, this situation sucks, right? And so I did that for a while, but I feel that groundwork and really changing like your beliefs and your money story really helped me to then, once I found the right business model and I had the right product, I surrounded myself with the right mentors. I decided to really go all in. Like I really decided, I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it properly and I'm going to give it everything I can. I'm going to, you know, work my ass off essentially. Then that's when it changed. So I was like, if I had done those things and found the right mentors and put the right amount of work in and things like that, without clearing all that money stuff, then I just don't feel that would have happened.
So here's what I'm hearing you say. First is that success is a recipe. And I was speaking about someone about this the other day, is that it's one thing to be given a recipe. It's another thing to know how to cook, right? Because if you have a recipe but missing ingredients, do you just not put them in, or do you learn to cook something else? And this is where I think it's really important that people understand how to cook. And I see that in everything. I see that in NLP. I see that in marketing. I see that in sales. Is that so many people out there have got access to other people's information. They just rip it off and they use it and wonder why it doesn't work. But all they're seeing is what we'd say is the outer game. And they're not understanding the inner game, the psychological aspect behind that. And so what I'm hearing you say is that you made that decision to start working on your inner game, start working on you. Nothing necessarily changed immediately in the outer game. You were still doing the work. You were still doing the same work that you were doing before. And you mentioned that you came across the right business model. What I would share and what I would believe is that you came across the right business model because you're more aligned within yourself, right? And there's a high likelihood, I would almost say like guaranteed, that you would not have found that business model had you not have been willing and ready to do the work internally, right? Because wherever we're at or whatever experiencing inside of us is a direct representation of outside of us, in terms of we never see life the way that life is, we see life the way that we are. And if you're stuck in these poor money beliefs, unconsciously, you're attracting a situation to allow those beliefs to stay true to you, right? Which your beliefs are very different to mine and different to anybody else out there, right? Even probably the siblings that you grew up with, your beliefs would still have a different flavor to them as them, because you have the experience of your own eyes and your own sense of being. So you did the work on the inside, the right business model turned up, right? You kept on doing the same work outside, but then all of a sudden what started to happen, and I say all of a sudden, is that the results you experienced externally started to change. You started to attract new mentors, you started to attract new experiences into your life that essentially represented the work that you're doing internally. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a big thing. Like one thing that I did do, and you asked me, you go, do you want me to introduce you with the X? Like, do you like Clint X Morgan? And I'm like, yeah, definitely the X. And that's a new thing. So I used to just be Clint Morgan and Clint X Morgan. And one thing I did at around about that time, and I won't go into the story, that could be a story for another time. But a mentor of mine had worked with this guy who was a numerologist, and he helps people in business. And he basically aligns the frequency of your name to what your mission is, what your birth date is, and what your alignment is, and what you want to create, right? And once I put that X in my name, I remember having a conversation with him, and he's like, dude, he goes, this X is gonna change the game for you. And he goes, make sure you thank me, right? And I said, listen, bro, I said, I attracted this X, right, because it's the right time for me to really take things to a new level, right? So I feel you're absolutely right. It's like I only attracted that X into my name because I'd done the work. I'd done the groundwork. I'd been working on my money story. I'd found I'd come into alignment of the right business model. But even that business model, like if you haven't done the pre-work and then with that business model, it's not going to work to the same extent. It may work to what level you're at. It's not going to work to the same extent of what's possible from doing that in the game. And without going into the details, that X, seriously, it was like within days of putting that X in my name, my life just changed. It was sort of like I had this like ball and chain on me in the past, and I became like this superhero. I came the X-Man, and things just magically started flowing. It was really freaky.
Yeah, it's interesting when we start to dive into, I suppose, the energetics and the unconscious of life. And you raised a good point again, which is around, that same business model could be given to 10 people and 10 people will get different results, even taking the same action. Now, I know that doesn't seem realistic and it doesn't seem logical, but let's be honest, most of life is not logical, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg? Let's be honest. Like, how does a heart manage to beat 100,000 times a day, never needing a charge from the moment we're born, even before we're born, to the moment we die? There's a lot about life that is not logical. So from an illogical perspective, if we look at that, is that very much so, wherever we're aligned internally inside of us within the inner game is a direct representation of the outer game right now. If your finances suck right now, it's because you're running a successful strategy for your finances to suck. If your relationships are shit, it's because you're running a successful strategy for your relationships. The strategies, the outcome is not the issue. The outcome is a result of the strategy that people are running. The issue is that the strategy they're running is not the strategy is going to get them to what they want to achieve. Because if there's nothing stopping us from having what we want right now, we'd simply have that. And so if we look back at you, right, like 18 months, 2 years ago, so we talked about the PT, you went from kind of working ridiculous hours, massive anxiety around getting paid and having money in your account, not having a whole bunch of money either. What was that shift? Like, if you look back then, like, what was the first domino, that first defining moment that seemed things start to kind of unravel for you? Now, I know that there might not have been necessarily a one thing, but if you look back, what was that moment that you remember? Obviously, the X was a big one for you.
So I remember I was in Bali, right? And I say my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but my wife, I don't know what to say there. Do you say like my wife, or do you say she was my fiance at the time?
My ex-wife?
The ex-wife, Clint ex-wife.
Yeah.
So she was my fiance at the time, and we moved to Bali, and the plan was to go to Bali. We're going to go traveling. We're going to go to Bali, then we're going to go to the States and just spend time traveling. And at the time, we sort of had the flexibility of working online, but we were really broke, right?
Yeah.
And so we went to Bali. And I remember having this moment, and I was there, and I was just in deep like meditation, and I had this realization. I was like, holy shit. I was like, your thoughts and beliefs create your reality. Right. And it hit me. And it wasn't new information, man. I'd heard that a million times. Like, you'd go to a personal development workshop, they'd see that. I'd read it in a million books, but it hadn't really hit me until then. And it came in. I was like, holy shit, because at that time I was staying in a hotel, right, in Bali, right, on Gili Air. And I was in this hotel, and we couldn't actually check out because in Bali you pay when you check out. We couldn't check out because we didn't have any money. And I was waiting for some more money to come into my account.
So you just kept extending your stay.
I will stay a few more nights. We really liked the hotel, really wanted to get the heck out of there, but we just couldn't afford to leave, right? And so really tough. And my fiance was pregnant at the time. So, and I realized, I was like, wait a second. I was like, I'm so broke. Like, I don't have any money to check out this hotel. I was like, this is me. I'm creating this. It's nobody else. I'm creating my reality. I was like, damn. I was like, so if it's going to be, it's up to me. So in that moment, I was like, well, wait a second. I just need to be really diligent here and really focused. And I need to start visualizing my reality exactly how I want it. So I started to take the control back and start to take the power back and go, all right, well, I'm creating all this stuff. So what if I started creating from a space of real abundance and really visualizing what I wanted? So I just like, after that, I was like, okay, cool. And I just started spending time whenever I had a chance. Like I remember being in a taxi or being down the beach, or any moment I got, I'd just close my eyes and I just visualize my reality exactly how I wanted. I imagined like money, I imagined business partners, I imagined traveling, I imagined like paying cash when I checked in for my hotels, and I just started to imagine my reality exactly how I wanted. And it didn't happen. The thing is, like, I started doing that, and it wasn't for like several months that things started to shift. It was like a gradual thing. And I think that's where people get a little bit delirious. They feel like it's just going to happen overnight.
Yeah, I just had this thought that I want to get $1 million check in the mailbox, and it should be there when I go and check it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's so not like that, people even look at my success now. It's like, we had all this success, rapid success in 18 months, but it's like, I was laying the groundwork for nearly 10 years. I was doing the groundwork. So there's never an overnight success, right?
Well, you're an overnight success, 10 years in the making.
Exactly. Yeah. One big overnight. Yeah. So, but yeah, so that was a big turning point. I was like, wait a second. So I started just being really conscious of what was coming into my mind, the beliefs that I was having. And I started to really act abundantly regardless of my situation, just small things, like, for example, I'd be at the shop and I'd see like avocados, and this might sound like ridiculous to some people, but you might be able to relate it to like something a bit bigger. But I'd be at the shop and I'd see the avocados, right? And if anyone lives in Australia, avocados, they're not cheap, right? They're like $4 or $5 a piece. You're like, sometimes you're like, really? Like for an avocado? And, but I was like, I'd sit there and I'd be like, should I get the avocado? No, I don't get the avocado. It's too much. Should I get the avocado? And I'd sit there like, that was our
breakfast. That was our breakfast 4 years ago. Avocado on sprout bread with Himalayan rock salt.
You probably shouted, bro. I probably and so, but then what I started to do, I was like, okay, I asked myself, I was like, if I had like the reality that I was looking at, I was like, let's say I wanted to make $1 million. I wanted to be a millionaire. I was like, if I was a millionaire, would I really be worried about an avocado being $4 or $5? No, I'd just buy the stupid thing, And so I started doing that. I started like really acting on that inspiration that's come. I was like, I go think millionaire. Yes, do it. Let's do it. And the avocado is just one example, but I started to do it other things. I started saying yes to opportunities as they come up. There was an incident which wasn't that much after that, where we had the opportunity, and this is where my business really took off, was we had the opportunity of an event that was happening in Vancouver, which was like a 1-year anniversary event of this platform that we partnered with. And we were sort of getting okay results, but we saw this event come up. And at the time, my wife was 6 months pregnant. We literally didn't have much money. Flights over there would have been, $2,000, $3,000 returned. And we just didn't have that sort of money just lying around. But I was like, it was a week out. We decided we're going to go. And I was like, you know what? We're going. And my wife and I were like, let's do it. And I just made a decision in that moment. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. It sounds ridiculous, but I'm going to get this money together and we're going to be in Vancouver. And I just made that decision. And I'm getting goosebumps as I tell this, because it was such a profound experience where I just put everything on the line and decided to act as if I was that millionaire, that successful person. Because now it's like, if I want to go to Vancouver, I'm like, okay, I'll just buy the ticket and I'll go. But back then it's like I had to really challenge myself and put myself out there and throw everything on the line to make that happen. And most people wouldn't have been willing to do that, but I was like willing to do that. Everything was stacked against us. Didn't seem possible, but literally 2 hours before the flight was leaving, we managed to get the money together. I paid for the thing, and we made the check-in by literally like security escorted us through, which they shouldn't have let us in. We were like behind the cutoff, but they were like, they could see that I was like, when I got to the airport, I'm like, if you don't let me in, I'm going to jump that counter and you're going to get a headbutt, mate. And so they're like, all right, sir, we'll get you in. And I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. And anyway, so they let me in, and we got on that plane, and it was like, when I hit that plane, it was like, I just broke down in tears, because I just realized, I was like, that was a moment that I was willing to put everything on the line. I was like, we're going to Vancouver. I said, I don't care what happens from here. I've got everything that I need from this trip already, because this is an example of putting myself on the line, regardless of what your bank's saying, regardless of what your friends are saying, regardless of what everyone else is saying. And I backed myself in that moment. And from that event, that was when things really shifted, because I feel it was a big thing. I was like, we just went all in. Now, when people are like coming to our events and things like that, they're like, I don't have any money. I got to travel interstate. I'm like, listen, don't you dare give me that excuse. You need to make this happen. Right. So I feel like that was a couple of different things. And another thing that really, I remember, like, it it was not long after that, and I was living in a place. So we came back, and money was still very tight. And I remember we were just putting sale after sale after sale after sale in our business, and in a week we'd generated something like $22,000 in like commission that was coming in. And but I had to go to the service station to put in some fuel, and literally all I had was $5. So I was living in this weird reality where I had all this money like coming into my bank and I only had $5 in my account. So I was like so abundant, and I was like, babe, I remember Christy, my wife, going, babe, we can't keep doing like this. I was like, listen, this is the last time. I was promised. And I was so happy. We were living on nothing. We didn't have any money. We're just eating like pasta. But I was so happy because I knew that once this money come in, I was like, it's done. I was like, I can feel that my frequency shifted. Business is working. We've found the right thing. Things are happening. It's moving. And I just knew, I was like, from this moment, I know we're still going to have challenges, but it's not going to be that real scarcity, lack, how we're going to eat sort of challenges. It's going to be bigger challenges from playing in a bigger game.
Yeah, I love what you share, and it's taking me back to a few things. First thing I'd say is it's like where our focus goes, our energy flows, and our results show. And this is where, fortunately or not, many of us have grown up in scarcity environment. And especially those of us in Australia, I was reflecting on this morning in the shower, is that, like the tall poppy syndrome is a fucking real thing here. And it's very different doing business in Australia than what it is in the States. Like very, very different. I remember a story from Tony Robbins, actually. He talked about a very similar thing to you, where he really broke through his financial threshold. And he went into this restaurant, and it was like an all you could eat. So he'd save up for the week to go in there and basically eat himself stupid, and he'd be right for a few days until some more money trickled through. And he went in there, and when he went in there, he seen that this kid was all dressed up in little tux, taking his mum out. And he bought his meal, and he had like $16 left or something like that. And he was so impressed by this kid and wanted to kind of give back that he went and gave this kid all the change, like all of his last money, and said, hey, first of all, it was like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm taking my mum out for lunch kind of thing. And he's like, now you're taking your mum out for lunch, and gave this kid the rest of his money. And he said, I walked out of that restaurant with nothing, like absolutely nothing. He said, but I was so fulfilled for giving to somebody else. And he said, I got home, and you wouldn't believe it, I opened the letterbox, and I had a check in there from a buddy of mine that had owed me money for 2 months that I'd chased. Not only did he pay back the money, he paid back like interest charge as well.
Yeah, wow.
I learned in that moment that money would never control me. I learned in that moment that I would never ever be subjected to control by the amount of money in my pocket or my bank account. It's very similar to your story as well. It's like people have to have that breakthrough moment. It's not a matter of just going, I'll give my last $5 away. There's actually a defining moment there where you break through those beliefs that have been imposed upon us through society around finances. And you shared before around that anxiety. You'd be more anxious when you got paid, because it's like, oh, it's going to run out. And it's like money's energy. There is a somewhat abundant, there's an abundant flow of money. And, you even look when the economy's going down, and people are like, oh, the economy's bad. It's like, yeah, but people are still doing business. They just might not be doing business with you. They might be doing it with your competition or with some other guy down the road. There is always money in flow. Now, the flow may change, but there is always money in flow. And it's just a matter of not whether you're tapped into that flow within yourself or not. And so did you find then, once that 22K come through in your first week of sales, that was what you'd felt it was in terms of the takeoff for you guys?
Yeah, it was a real turning point. And we still had challenges. It was still like, because all of a sudden this money's coming. It was like, I felt like I'd won the lotto. I was like, whoa, like all this money coming in. And the month ended up getting bigger than Ben-Hur. And then it continued to grow like that. And all of a sudden I was like, just money's raining down on me, So I was like, I'd spent so much time in lack and scarcity that I was like, man, this is so much fun. And money was coming in. And I enjoyed it. I was like, I'm going to take some time to really enjoy this. And we'll still, and I think a lot of people, they wish for money, and, they pray for it to come, and they pray for their business to take off. What they don't, or what I didn't realize is, on the other side of like all that money that I made was a bunch of new customers, and then I had to service those customers. And I went from like, had this money, but then I was like, holy shit, I was like, all these people I got to help now for them to be successful online. And all of a sudden I was like, I didn't have any time. I was pulling my hair out. I was so busy. It was a great busy, because I was like so inspired. It felt like all this vision that I'd had, and me visualizing my reality, and me tapping into that vision regularly. It was like it was happening. I was feeling it, and it was happening. But what was the original question?
Well, more so, I suppose, talking about the breakthrough moment that you had to have within yourself. And I think from what you just shared there too, it's one thing. It's one thing to wish and pray for money. It's another thing to believe that you're worthy to receive it. Like a lot of people wish and pray for money, it doesn't come, because there's an internal conflict, which is a deep part of themselves. They don't feel they actually deserve it. And, to kind of further wrap up what you said before, is that, we always live to our means. Like, we are always living to our means. We are always living to, like, did you ever have the experience when you're growing up, getting paid from a job, and you get a pay rise, and you thought to yourself, I really should save that money. Like, I don't need that money that I just got the pay rise. I should save that money. And you didn't save it for a week or two. Next thing you know, it was gone. And you couldn't see how you could possibly save that money because it was no longer there. Like, this is the way people live. I spoke to one of our clients 2 weeks ago around one of our events, and they came on board 3.5, 4 months ago. When they came on board, she was paying herself $200 a week from a business. $200 a week. She'd learned to live on $200 a week, and she's working 80 hours a week, right? 80 hours, and she's pulling out $200.
It's like 50 cents an hour.
Mate, she was sleeping at the office, wasn't seeing her kids, was ridiculous. And I spoke to her the other day, and she's like, in the 4 months working with you guys, she's like, I'm making more money than I know what to do. She's like, but I'm still living on $200 a week. She's like, I get paid all this money every week, but I don't know what to do with it. So I'm just forcing it into savings. And I'm still living on $200 a week, because that's where she's conditioned herself to be. Like as human beings, we are far greater, like have far more potential than what even you or I know right now. And I think that it's good to challenge ourselves. And I'm not saying go and rack up 10 credit cards, because that's a very different mentality than what we're speaking about here. Yeah. So fast forward then. So you started off this event, right? The Freedom Fest, 33 people registered, and you've grown it to 900 people in 18 months. How have you done that?
I don't know, bro. It's just, it's sort of like, people often say like, how did that happen? And I really feel it comes down to, one, installing belief in myself, that, because for me, I can see it so clearly, the vision, and I connect with this vision regularly, but the vision for even 900 people is not even close to where I can see it's going. Like, I see stadiums, I see huge events all over the world. And I know that's where it's happening. So I have this like killer belief. But then what I also do is I impart that belief onto other people. But this is what a mentor done for me. I remember like when I was struggling in business, and he helped me sort of change my reality and start to create more results in my business. I remember saying to him, he goes, it's easy, man. It's really easy. And I was like, dude, it's not easy. I was like, what are you talking about? And anyway, so we set this goal, and I ended up achieving that goal. And it was a crazy goal. It was more sales than I'd ever made like in a year. And we did it in about 6 weeks. And I remember at the end, I called him up. I was like, dude, we hit the goal. And he was like, whoa. And I was like, you know what, bro? It was easy. And he goes, see, it's easy when you believe it's easy. All right. And I got that in that moment. I was like, far out, And, when we jumped on this call, we're talking about like the challenges that come along the way. And there's so many challenges. And when you start, playing in a bigger game, and you have we have 3,500 people in our team, we have an event of 900 people. There's actually more challenges that come up than when it was just me and my wife, there's way more challenges now. I'm more equipped to handle those challenges, and they're different challenges than what they were in the past, but there's still always going to be challenges. However, if you can choose that and make a choice that it's going to be easy, then it's going to be easier than if you go, oh my God, this is so hard, and have a belief that it's really hard. Mm-hmm. So what we really do is really install that belief into people, and just really help them see and start to believe that it's easy, you know, when you believe it's easy. So when people have that mindset, because the thing with our events, it's not just us that's promoting and selling them. Like, we have a whole team that are also promoting and selling these events. So we've really tapped into what I call like movement mechanics. So creating like a revolution, and the mindset and the mechanics behind doing that, and really like rallying a tribe and creating momentum and creating different language and inspiring people to really believe in themselves, believe that it's possible. And a lot of that happens at these events. It's sort of like we teach the tools of how to create a successful business online. So a lot of that is done digitally. So they can come on, they learn Facebook ads, they learn you know, social media marketing, they learn how to build a social brand, they learn how to sell, they learn how to, you know, run pixels and create funnels and things like that, which are all like, it's like the technical side of things, or the strategy side of things, right? But I guess what's where the events really help people transform is it's experiential, you know, and they take the strategies that they learn, they come, you know, can you imagine, like you would have been there at big events, but 900 people in a room that have a shared energy, that have a shared vision, that are there going through some sort of experience. And like the last time we had like a sound healer take us on a journey there, and we had 900 people laying on the ground, doing like breath work and then going into a sound immersion, right, all at once. It was beyond profound, and people connected in a different way than they had in the past. So it's sort of like these events are like a catalyst to help people to tap into like that being that's within them, and help them unleash that. And you know, the intention behind the event was to unleash your fully expressed self. And we really feel like the events do that. So it's sort of like, it's within our culture. It's like, you need to be at these events. It's like, if you don't come to the event, then you're shooting yourself in the foot. You know, you're not helping out yourself, you're not helping out your business. And so we have that as a mentality, we have that as a mindset, and we also, you know, instill in people that it is easy when you believe that it's easy. So it's like, and a big part of that belief comes through being at these events. So we really just encourage people to promote these events. So it's, when I say it's my event, like my wife and I, we created them. She's the genius behind making it a spectacular event. Like, it's such an experience, and she's great at like bringing people together and the bells and whistles and making it like a really profound experience. Like, we had like, at this time, we had a dude that was like a mirror man, and he was like walking around dancing. We had flamethrowers. We had like coconuts that said like freedom test on it. It was like, there was no stone unturned. It was like, it was an amazing experience. But the thing that makes these events is the community that we have. And it's like, where it's not just me and my wife. If it was just me and my wife, I wouldn't be that great, and they'd probably be a lot smaller than what they are. But we have a full community that is backing these events, driving them forward, being part of every single one, and then inviting you know, their friends and people to also be part of it. So it's sort of like, it's a community event, and putting their energy and growing it, not just one or two people. Yeah.
And it's really that collective consciousness you speak about.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Bringing forth the collective consciousness as well. Like, life-changing, transformational. Mate, what a journey you've been on. How can the guys that are watching or listening to this today, if they feel drawn to connect with you, is the website the best way?
Probably go and check out my socials. So jump onto Clint X Morgan YouTube, at Clint X Morgan on Insta, and then Clint X Morgan on Facebook, my Facebook fan page as well. And my website is coming soon. It'll be live in about a week. So I'm not sure when this will go live. I'm sure probably by the time this podcast goes live, it'll be up. But that'll be a good place to go and check out, see my story, see what I'm about, see some testimonies from people that have worked with us and part of the community. But that'll be the best way.
Outstanding. And let me just for a moment call out the skeptics. So I see you guys out there, those guys that are watched or listened to this to the end, because there's some part of you that's intrigued. There's some part of you that's there. Yet there's maybe part of you right now that listen to this, you're like, oh, what's all this mindset BS? What's all this, you know, thoughts create things and manifest everything else? And I'm going to put it like this, is that if right now your current state of reality is exactly what you'd like to achieve and have, cool, keep doing what you're doing because it's working for you. However, if right now the experience you're having in life is not quite how you'd like it to be, or maybe far from where you'd like it to be, maybe your financial situation is not as prosperous or abundant as you like it to be. Maybe your relationships, you experience a lot of conflict, or just not the love, the sex, the intimacy you'd like with your significant other. Maybe it's your health. Whatever it is, if you're living life right now and you're not fully self-expressed, and you're not living life in a way that you honestly feel that is your dream and what you've created, maybe there's something in this, and maybe it's worthwhile investigating it. Maybe there's no coincidence right now that you're listening to this and you've heard me and Clint banter, and most likely you've probably heard quite a few of our episodes by now. So I also want to offer you this, and that is that if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur right now, and you're in business and you're looking to take your life or your business to the next level, we'll put a link below, click on and book a scale session with one of the Game Changers coaches. Allow us a chance just to sit with you for 15 minutes initially to find out where you are, where you'd like to go, and whether or not the gap you're experiencing right now is a fit for us, and whether we can help you get there. If we can, we'll let you know the next steps. If we can't, we're more than likely to refer you to somebody who can. But like Clint said, there's no limitations on money. You guys found the funds to go to Vancouver, and as you said, sitting on that plane, you'd already achieved more or received more than what that trip was worth to you guys. I'm sure there was a lot more that you got out of it than just getting past security without headbutting them and getting put on that and I remember too, mate, many years ago, as you know, I was bankrupt about eight and a half years ago now. And I remembered just after that, I started I wanted to learn how I'd messed my life up so bad. And I ended up getting into learn life coaching, NLP, psychotherapies. I was at a spiritual retreat one day with this community that I've been a part of for a while. And I went up to this guy that I knew that was coaching as well. And I wanted to know how he was doing what he's doing, because he was getting results. And what they taught us in NLP is like model success, find other people that are doing what you want to do or getting what you want to get, and work out how. And I spoke to him and I said, can I ask you some questions? And lo and behold, I didn't know back then, but he took me on an hour-long sales conversation, which was a in quote coaching session, which is not what we've offered here. It is actually coaching, but he took me on a sales conversation, and at the end had me signed up for $3,500 a month to work with him one-on-one, which at that point in time was a shitload more money than what I had. And I shared with him that at that point in time, I had $1,000 in my bank. He said, well, that's fine. Send me through the $1,000. And next week, when you make the other $2,500, he said, send that through to me as well. And I remember I was so stuck in my own beliefs and so stuck in what I thought was possible. But yet there was some part about me that I bought into, and I believed in his certainty in me. Is that this guy is sitting there so certain that I'm going to make this money, that he's taking me on board, that there was almost like this fear of letting him down in some ways as well. And I proceeded. I transferred the $1,000 then and there. I went out 3 days later. I made $116,000. 3 days later. Now those results are not typical, as yours aren't either. Yet they are possible. They are 100% and totally possible. That with a smaller shift in mindset and smaller shift in belief within yourself and what's possible, you can create a whole new reality. And Clint, you're a perfect example, buddy. Like, kudos to you. I want to just give you a massive hug and heartfelt gratitude, because I know that what you've been through and what you guys have been through has had massive challenges. And I think that what you're doing right now is changing the lives of so many people. And so huge love for myself, mate, for what you and Christy do as well. Like, massive round of applause.
Thanks, brother. And appreciate you. You've been a good support from the sidelines from when that first time we met. And like I said, that was a big catalyst that time. Because I guess I'd never really, I'd experienced, coaching and things like that in the past, but I never knew Barry. I rock up to this, I was dating this bird, and she had a friend, and rock up and we're playing the Wish. I just met Barry. I had no idea who he was or what he was doing. All of a sudden we're playing the Wish, and he's pulling out some ninja ass coaching moves on me, and shifting my mindset, making me visualize things. And I remember I broke that glass. This glass just smashed.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, and that was a big thing that shifted my life in that direction. And I've seen your success, and I know we've had a couple of phone calls on the way, and each time we have, it's really helped me to, see my own value and see my own power, and really tap into, something. And I guess, tuning into what you what you offer in your frequency and helping me on the next part of my evolution. I'm sure this call and this conversation will see me rise to new levels again, bro. So if you're listening, take advantage of one of those calls with Barry and his team.
Yeah. So if you're in business or entrepreneur, click on the link below. We're 15 minutes. There's absolutely no sell. We're very clear on who we work with, who we can help, who we can't. We're really about helping you, and that 15-minute call, whether we choose to work together or not, might be enough to shift you to the next level. If you are an employee, however, or maybe not currently employed and you're looking for an opportunity, it might be worthwhile checking out Clint and what him and his tribe are doing over there. And that might be a good fit for you guys as well.
Awesome. Thanks, bro.
Awesome, brother. Big love, mate. So grateful. And thanks very much for joining us. Please like, comment, share, tag anyone that you think need to listen to this message. Help us, help you, and help more people even more. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, champion.